Last week in Libertyville, I believe, they were having a school board meeting, and the superintendent, who was mic'd up at the time, didn't know people was listening, and he had a comment about masks.
Just realize how difficult it is to breathe in these things until you don't have to wear them as much.
Okay, at this time, pursuant to the reopening Phase 5 under the state of Illinois, any vaccinated individual, fully vaccinated individuals may remove their masks if they're comfortable. We still encourage all non-vaccinated individuals to follow the face covering protocol. This is only allowed in our meetings once all students are no longer in the room. Let us reflect that the honoree and her brother have left our meeting.
So, I don't know if you heard it, he said it's difficult to breathe in these things. I didn't realize how difficult it was because you don't wear them as much. With more on this and other pressing matters, let's welcome back to the program Paul Vallas, former superintendent of the Bridgeport Public Schools in the Recovery School District of Louisiana, former CEO of the School District of Philadelphia, and the former CEO of Chicago Public Schools. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good morning.
Did I leave anything out there when I was going over your resume?
Oh my God. It's my mother's favorite resume.
Oh, I'm sure she loves it. All right, so let's start with the masks. What do you think school is going to look like in the fall, especially as it pertains to Chicago public school students?
Well, I certainly hope that there's no sort of mask mandate. You just never know. I think the new superintendent, though, has a good reputation. Of course, he's the interim superintendent, and he's been pretty pragmatic in the jobs he's held from time to time, including the Illinois Math Science Academy. So at the end of the day, hopefully he'll bring some pragmatism to the school decision making. But it's ridiculous to be now mandating that, at least in some districts, that even if they're not vaccinated, that those students still are required to walk around without a mask.
Right, because the kids aren't, and the children aren't a health threat. I mean, they're really not. And if you look at the numbers in Chicago, I just wanted to play this for you. This is Dr. Warde. How many are dead here in Chicago or have died since the pandemic began? How many children 18 and younger have died from COVID in Chicago, and did they have comorbidities?
3 children under the age of 18 have died. That's available on the dashboard. They all had at least one comorbidity.
Okay. So, and that was early on. And then I found out that these kids were hospitalized and had severe comorbidities.
That's right. Not only do they have, let me point out that by contrast, at least last year, almost 90 students were school-age children in that same age group were actually murdered in the city of Chicago, and almost 600 were shot. So contrast that. I mean, and look, there are, I think, 18 or 19 students who were actually murdered during normal school hours. So these kids were killed during the time that schools are normally open. So if schools had been open during that period of time, you wonder how many of those students would have not been shot in the city of Chicago.
But I just don't know logistically how we're going to go from, say, 1 or 2 kids in a high school classroom to back to normal. Because you've got to get rid of the health screeners. You've got to get rid of the temperature taking, because there's not enough time in the day to get, say like Lane Tech or Taft, to get all those kids through the doorway to start school on time. I mean, are we forward thinking here? Are we planning logistically for the fall?
That's a good question. Certainly they haven't planned in the past. But let me give you an example of summer school. Now, the district has received $2.5 billion since last December, both the Trump and the Biden COVID relief packages combined. And we all know that there's been enormous learning loss. We also know that the violence, not only towards young people, but also by young people. I think 8%, I saw a stat. There was an article in the Tribune that said 8% of the murders in Chicago, 8% of shootings, over 40% of the carjackings have been committed by school-age children 17 years or younger. But yet the school district, despite the learning loss and despite the loss of and despite the danger, obviously the violence, they're opening summer school as if it's a normal summer school year. In fact, I believe that the high school instruction, the credit recovery instruction, is actually going to be remote.
Oh.
It's not going. You would think that you'd want to get these kids in safe and secure campuses, off the streets and safe and secure campuses. But yet, the high school instruction over the summer is going to be remote. There's only 5% of the teachers, 1,200 teachers, are scheduled to teach summer school. 1,200 of the 22,000 teachers. So what does that tell you?
Well,
Clearly, their priorities are not in the right place.
so remote learning is going to be part of our future for years to come. I mean, are we always going to have remote learning? Because
look, I think all the classrooms should have the capacity to offer remote learning for students who are sick or students who legitimately are not in school. If you have a synchronous learning classroom, you'll never have a student will never have a sick day. But there's no reason why schools cannot return to normal schedules. They should have returned to normal schedules last September, and we're going to be paying the price for this lost instructional year for a generation.
now, what about school choice? Because I don't know if you saw, but in New Hampshire, they passed a bill yesterday giving parents school choice. So families are able to take their children's education dollars, actually, to education providers for choosing private school, tutoring, instructional materials, special needs services, and any other approved expenses. Do you think we could ever possibly get this in Illinois? I know you're a big advocate.
Probably not. I remember I testified on a bill where it was sponsored. The bill basically would have said during the peak of the COVID season, they would have said that if your local school is not offering in-school instruction, you could have a voucher to go to a private school, and it didn't even get out of committee. So we're behind the times. So, let me point out that our neighbor Indianapolis, our neighboring state, Indiana, they just expanded their voucher program, and now 90% of the individuals who send their kids to who have school-age children, 90% of the families are now eligible for a voucher. Now, even though that many are eligible, I think only about, I'm not sure, I think less than 10% participate. So it's not like there's this big exodus, but God knows, with the Chicago Public Schools losing students left and right for a variety of reasons, they've lost enrollment for 17 consecutive years. People are voting with their feet, and it's for two main reasons. One is the crime, and one is the lack of quality schools. So if you want to help, save the city, if you want to help keep the middle class from exiting the city, only 16% of the families in Chicago are middle class families. In fact, there's been an exodus of over 260,000 blacks from the city of Chicago in the last decade, the largest black exodus of any city, including Detroit. And the exodus is an overwhelming middle income middle income families with school-age children. So I think school choice is one of the things that could possibly save the city.
Is it too early to tell how many people left during the pandemic, or kids that didn't sign on ever to remote learning? Because last I saw, it seemed like they lost about 100,000 students. Or is that aggressive?
The district at the start of the year lost 15,000 students, and even more frightening statistic is they lost 40% of their early childhood students. I'm sorry. I apologize. They lost 40% of their Black early childhood students and 30% of their Latino early childhood students. So that's not a healthy sign. Now, what the actual numbers were, I don't have updated numbers, but I will tell you, and it's well documented, that a large number of the student population, particularly at the high school level, while they may have still been on the roster, they were either not tuning in, or they were tuning in and then taking off, where they would basically sign into the classroom and then they wouldn't necessarily sit through the remote classroom. So the district has been shy about putting out numbers, but I got to believe that the decline in enrollment at the end of the year was much greater than the 15,000 drop in enrollment at the beginning of the year.
Now, I've got some information from somebody who works over at Mather High School there on the Northwest Side. They were told Wednesday, they were sent an email by the principal saying to prepare for a larger than normal classroom next fall because apparently the refugees from Mexico and Central America are being shipped to Chicago, and they're going to put them at Mather High School. Similar to what they did with Amundsen during the Bosnia-Herzegovina war. They brought a lot of people, and they went to Amundsen High School, those refugees.
Yeah, I haven't read anything. What you told me, that was the first time that I heard that there was that type of preparation. Usually, a lot of times you can hear things like that through the grapevine. It's not surprising that obviously they would be pushing an expansion of enrollment by obviously enrolling as many children as they can, because as I pointed out, the district has fewer students today than they had when the Germans were invading France in World War I. That's how. It hasn't been until 1914 since the enrollment has been this low. And as I've mentioned, 17. There are 100,000 fewer students in the school system today than there were at that CEO back in the old days, 2001. So clearly, the district is significantly losing students at a rate that far exceeds the loss of city population, and that's not a healthy thing. So if they're aggressively, obviously recruiting or trying to expand their enrollment, their state aid is based on their enrollment. It's based on the number of students that they have, as well as student attendance, the average daily attendance. So it wouldn't surprise me.
All right, Paul, hold on the line. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Mayor Lightfoot, crime in the city, and the Bears possibly moving to Arlington.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Every family has been touched by an illness or disease that could have benefited from more medical research. However, did you know that most nationally known research organizations that receive annual donor support either use or advocate for the use of embryonic stem cells and aborted fetal tissue in research? The John Paul II Medical Research Institute, a nonprofit research organization located in Iowa, is opposed to such immoral practices and utilizes only adult stem cells to conduct ethical research in the hopes of discovering new treatments and cures. To learn more about their novel research in the areas of neurodegenerative diseases, rare diseases, cancer, vaccines, and more, and to support their efforts in finding cures while also upholding the dignity of all human life, please visit jp2mri.org. That's jp2mri.org. Please join them in the fight to promote ethical medical research.
People are going on vacations this time of year, and you don't have to take a vacation from your health. Take it with you. And of course, I'm talking about balance of nature. Just pack it in your suitcase. Why? Well, you can still eat healthy when you're on vacation. And if you're driving, you stop at a lot of drive-through, and you still need the nutrients that are in balance of nature. What it is 6 capsules. You're getting 10 servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. Yes, vitamin B, vitamin C, potassium, you name it, it's in there. And you need to experience the balance of nature difference for yourself. Give it a try. Make 2021 a better year of your health. Here's what you do. Call one of their operators, 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. First-timers will get free shipping and 35% off your first preferred order of fruits and veggies. Or if you want, go online, and that address is balanceofnature.com, and be sure to use discount code Chicago.
It's summertime, and you want to keep the shop, warehouse, and other doors open for ventilation. Air circulation improves the well-being of your employees and customers, as well as helping keep COVID at bay. But open doors can let in the uninvited, like strangers, birds, rodents, and bugs. Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. can help solve the problem with a full line of commercial screen door products designed with these specific problems in mind, including power or manual operation and superimposed door-over-door installations. Think ahead and act soon. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. now for your commercial door screen products. Visit their website to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. That's 847-258-5620. Their team will be there to assist in designing a solution that works best for you. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. Takes care of your doors so you can take care of business. Sales, service, and installation positions available now. See website for details.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, as you know, Mike Scott, father of 4, and he still has a daughter in high school. Have they made any plans for your daughter's high school about masks or social distancing or any of that stuff?
Tentatively, I think the plan that we're seeing come together is one that may allow for some masking in certain situations, certainly not outside, certainly not in sports. And I think that goes for most of the suburbs as well, too.
But are you guys going to have remote learning?
No, I think it's going to be offered, but it's going to be what
You have
was
to prove that
offered.
you actually have a comorbidity.
No, not necessarily.
Because for CPS you do.
Do you?
Yep.
The hybrid model that was going to be in place for several suburban school districts on the high school level went to a private organization who put together a plan for the school, but you had to use that exclusively. There was going to be no asynchronous learning, no live teacher-to-video teaching. It was the private schools learning, or the private organizations learning. And I'm seeing that may be a possibility this afternoon for some who may choose to be on the outside looking in. But I'm not hearing that from parents. I'm hearing from parents
that we're going back.
Several school districts in and around us that not only are they going back, they're not only ready to go back, but they're going to demand that students go back.
Yeah, in Barrington, that school district there, only one person signed up for remote learning for the whole. So they're not going to cater to that one person, which is good. Somebody's finally waking up. All right, thanks, Mike. Now let's go back to Paul Vallas, who joins us on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Paul, I thought of you when Mayor Lightfoot got in a little tis-tis with 2 of the aldermen. I'm sure you heard about it.
I have considered your appeal, and I've denied it. We are going to Alderman Harris.
But Paul, it wasn't as fun as the Harold Washington days. Remember that? Here's 50th Ward Alderman Bernard Stone.
How dare you come in here, you little pipsqueak? How dare you come in here?
Oh, wasn't that fun back then?
It was a lot of fun back. And, there were unruly city councils in those days, too. I remember as budget director, the mayor actually lost his budget before the city council. And in fact, it was one of the reasons I became budget director from revenue director was the mayor had been frustrated over a series of defeats by the council, and he decided to shake up his administration. So, yeah, but look, I mean, the problems that the city is facing, we had a record, a huge increase in murders on Monday, murders and shootings on Monday following an extremely violent weekend. You would think that the council would be spending its time focusing and debating that issue, or for that matter, asking fundamental questions like why, after the learning loss, why, after the violence inflicted on children and by children, is the school district running a summer school program that is, in effect, like the normal summer school program you would run as if we had not had school campuses closed for 15 months. But no, it's about personalities, and it's about debating side issues like the renaming of DuSable or whether or not someone, whether or not the police raid, they should pay $1.5 million in damages to the woman who was victimized for $3 million. I mean that's the stuff that they're focusing on when literally the city is burning.
It is, and crime is up. I mean, people are scaling down the Chicago bridges to break into restaurants on the Riverwalk. Last night at 16th or in the 16th, 17th district, people were walking into restaurants and holding up the chefs at gunpoint and taking their personal items and walking out. And there's not enough police officers because so many are retiring, because why would you want to be a police officer in this day and age? There's such a lack of respect.
Well, not only, and Amy, I'll tell you, not only are there serious problems in terms of attrition, not only are there serious problems because of attrition. Amy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I apologize. My alarm actually went off. That was my alarm to wake up to do the
well,
show.
You should get up earlier, Paul.
I know. I don't have. I'm a late. I go to bed very late at night. But not only not only is there a problem of attrition, but the strategy is it's a failed strategy. They pulled 1,400 police officers from the local districts, and they've created these two massive citywide units that they deploy in kind of a shock and awe approach when they have violent to deal with the violent hotspots. Most of the time, the police are just sitting in cars with their lights flashing. It's called scarecrow patrol. So not only do we have a significant number of vacancies that have not been filled because they're retiring at record rates, but they have stripped the local police districts of 1,400 officers. So you have beats that are not covered by a beat car, and you don't have backup. In some of the most violent communities, you don't have beats being covered. And Brown, the other day when he had his press conference, he tried to argue that not having the backup or not having beat cars for every beat, et cetera, was normal. It's anything but normal, and we're seeing it in the record, not only in last year's record increase in murders and in shootings, but this year those numbers are up even above last year's record levels. So it's
we're up
a
against
real
the clock here,
disaster.
Paul. But real quickly, I wanted to ask you about Soldier Field and the Chicago Bears possibly moving to Arlington Heights, because you had a pretty strong tweet out about that.
Well, look, if the Chicago Bears, we built the spaceship on the lakefront for the Chicago Bears. In today's dollars, the subsidy, the total, mostly publicly financed stadium was close to $1 billion in today's dollars. If the Bears are now going to hold us hostage, and you know they should have done a retractable dome so they could have more than a couple dozen events at the stadium. But if they're going to move to Arlington, I think they should give us a refund. And I think their rent, the amount of rent that they pay to the Park District right now, is what they pay, I think, one of their outside linebackers. But if they're going to move to Arlington, I think we should demand that they take the Chicago off the Bears and they can call themselves the Arlington Heights Bears.
All right, we'll send them a bill. All right, Paul Vallas, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks. And Paul Vallas joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer. Yes, it is Open Mic Friday. Grab a line, 312-642-5600. Now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy, at 8:33, flooding rains have hit the area this morning. Flash flood watches are in effect through Saturday morning. Number of people unaccounted for in the collapse of a condo tower near Miami, much higher this morning.
Unfortunately, this has been a tragic night.